HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. Every 12 seconds, another person contracts HIV. 39 million people are living with HIV worldwide. The number is growing daily. 3 out of every 1,000 people in the United States have HIV. 1 out of every 100 people in Broward County has HIV. It has no boundaries, affecting all ages, genders, races, sexual preferences, and income levels. Since HIV was first recognized in 1981, approximately 30 million people have died worldwide from autoimmune disease-related illnesses caused by the viruses. Every 16 seconds, another person dies from AIDS. There is not a cure or vaccine for the 2 primary types of HIVs infecting people in the United States and Northern Europe, nor the more than 200 mutations that are resistant to anti-HIV drugs. There is only treatment.
Remarkable strides have been made in the treatment of HIV and to find a cure. The Campbell Foundation has been a part of helping to discover better treatments for people with HIV, as well as research into a cure since its creation by the late Richard Campbell Zahn in 1986. Richard Zahn was a chemist who developed Herpessin L lip balm for the treatment of cold sores and fever blisters. He created Campbell Laboratories, which manufactured and sold the lip balm. In 1995, Mr. Zahn died from complications from AIDS. Herpessin L was then sold, and the proceeds flowed into the Campbell Foundation, which had a mandate to fund cutting-edge research to discover a cure for HIV. Since 1995, we funded grants totaling almost $9 million for alternative, non-traditional avenues of research. The research is required to have direct clinical impact and relevancy to the HIV care and research community within 5 to 7 years.
The Foundation has funded such research as pediatric studies to prevent the transference of HIV from nursing mothers to newborn children. How human enzymes are encoded with a particular gene may play a role in antiviral immunity. The treatment of a stigmatizing rash seen on HIV patients. Clinical trials to test medications. The effects of steroids, nutrition, and exercise on HIV-positive males. The use of herbs to reduce the viral load in HIV patients. The use of acupuncture for pain relief in HIV patients. Various novel anti-HIV medication therapies, and a host of others.
We fund scientific curiosity. Most foundations don't do this. They fund research programs that are in later stages of development or help people through their social programs. The Campbell Foundation is different. We're literally at the edge of the field looking for new strains of ideas that are taking root. Through our funding, we give them nourishment to grow.
The Campbell Foundation has funded 126 separate HIV/AIDS research projects at facilities throughout the United States and the world since 1995. The range of research is broad and deep, but there is an essential thread that runs through them all: understanding how the human body interacts with the virus and the antiretroviral drugs that slow its destructive tide. Through understanding, a cure may be found.
So why fund research? Despite the perception that HIV are on the decline, people are still contracting HIV. The viruses are currently impossible to stop.
HIV is different from other viruses due to its genetic variability. It replicates fast, producing 1,000 variations of the original virus every day, and it mutates daily. When immune cells are simultaneously infected by 2 or more strains of HIV, hybrid HIV viruses are created. This makes it especially difficult to control, let alone develop a vaccine to prevent HIV. Even when HIV is suppressed with a combination of the approximately 70 antiviral drugs available, it hides in reservoirs of cells within the genital tract, lymphoid tissue, bone marrow, and brain. Research shows that most HIV patients would need 60 to 80 years of rigorous antiviral therapy in order to deplete the HIV reservoirs. HIV hides. It does not die. When a person stops taking a particular anti-HIV drug, HIV adapts and is no longer affected by it. This is why ongoing research is so important. We are fighting an evolving and elusive virus.
In order to fund the best possible research each year, the Campbell Foundation's grant selection process is highly analytical, on par with the evaluations conducted by the National Institutes of Health. The Campbell Foundation's 15-member peer review board is comprised of some of the leading minds in HIV and AIDS research.
The Scientific Review Board, I think, does an excellent job of providing critical, incisive, and comprehensive reviews of all of the proposals that are submitted. In fact, the feedback that we've heard has suggested that those reviews help not only to strengthen the applications that are submitted to the Campbell Foundation, but also have provided enormous support to investigators who go on to submit their work for funding through the National Institutes of Health. The review process is very thorough, very fair, and I think very open to bidirectional communication across the range of the investigators and the Scientific Review Board members.
The Campbell Foundation is nationally recognized for its evaluation process and the type of research that it funds. Funders concerned about AIDS has ranked the Campbell Foundation in the top 1/5 of the 300 private philanthropic institutions supporting original HIV/AIDS research in the United States and Europe. In fact, the Campbell Foundation's funding of HIV/AIDS research is greater than those made by Walmart.
Campbell Foundation really has been a critical part of our fighting the HIV epidemic. They provide the important seed funding, small pilot grants that provide the very starts of an idea and provide the funding for new ideas, innovative ideas, ideas that are really may not be funded by the larger or other larger agencies, including the NIH. It's really the Campbell Foundation that provides that seed funding that gets the investigators started along a path that'll hopefully lead that new idea further, that may lead to a cure, may lead to a new therapy, may lead to a vaccine. So the Campbell Foundation and its funding really has contributed greatly to a lot of these new ideas that then are further supported by other larger organizations.
The foundation is a lean organization. Its staff of 2 works out of a modest office in Fort Lauderdale. Its financial statements are audited annually and are in line with other foundations of its size. What has resulted from some of the foundation's funding? The grant recipients will tell you.
A few years ago, thanks to the Campbell Foundation, our group, CRI New England, conducted a study in HIV called FOTO, F-O-T-O. Why did we do it? Very simple. One of the key issues in HIV medicine is treatment adherence, taking your medicines every day, twice a day sometimes, in order to maintain control of this virus. People who missed doses found that their virus would regrow, cause resistance to the medications, and create a need to keep going and moving on to new and different medications. And sometimes we would run out. So taking medicines every day became the mantra in order to maintain control. But several years ago, some of the medications had characteristics, what we call a half-life, that was longer than was necessary to take the medicine every day, so-called forgiveness in our medication. And so in the FOTO study, we did a very simple thing. People whose virus was controlled by taking this medicine every day, we randomized. Half of the groups continue to take it every day. The other half, take it 5 days on and 2 days off, 5 on, 2 off, FOTO was our trial's name, Why too off? Well, it was the weekends. Because patients told us, you know what? Sometimes on the weekends I forget my medicine, or I don't want to take my medicine, or I left it home and I'm on vacation for the weekend. And so the weekends off felt like an important thing to identify in research, since patients wanted it, the drugs looked like they could handle it, and ultimately it might advance what we can do in terms of the comfort and flexibility of treatment. So we did that research. We did that research several years ago at several sites across the US, because several clinician researchers, not just here in Boston, but around the US, agreed this was an important research question if it worked. A year later, we showed it worked. There was not one patient who a year later, by skipping 2 doses every week, skipping weekends, there was not one patient whose virus came back. There was no evidence of the loss of virologic control.
Tenofovir does not penetrate into the brain, and today there is no effective treatment for neuro-HIV. We develop nanoparticles that will be capable of delivering tenofovir to the brain. There are other nanoparticles that penetrate to the brain. The difference between those nanoparticles that have been developed elsewhere and ours is that our nanoparticles are made of unique components that make them very, very stable. Once it gets to the target site, the surface of these nanoparticles destabilize them and release the encapsulated drug at the target site. This is why we call it V-SMART. The SMART is for the smart surface that makes this particle capable to deliver the drug exactly to where the drug's supposed to act and release it there. Most foundations that fund HIV research focus on finding mechanism or investigating mechanism that is associated with the virus proliferation, with the virus entry, new drugs. In our case, we're using a well-known drug. Its efficacy is well-known. The only thing is the delivery system that needs to deliver it to the right place. And Campbell Foundation saw that. They had envisioned that such delivery system may be helpful for neuro-HIV, and for that we are very appreciative.
Our research was conducted in response to the emerging finding of increased inflammation in HIV-infected people. And inflammation is a major problem in this population because it can be associated with many serious health issues, most notably cardiovascular disease. And we were looking for non-toxic, non-pharmacological means to lower this inflammation in this patient population. We selected acupuncture because there's evidence, at least in animal models, that if you needle certain nerves in the body, you can actually reduce the production and release of these inflammatory proteins into the circulation. Our hope is that we will see a reduction in circulating levels of inflammatory proteins in the bloodstream of HIV-infected people, because we targeted proteins specifically that have been shown to be predictive of subsequent cardiovascular events and also death.
We really are grateful for that support from the Foundation for this very innovative and first time ever study in collaboration with the University of California in San Francisco that's going to help us find out more about HPV and HIV infected children that acquired it at birth, and what we have to do about vaccines. Do we have to worry about cancer earlier in these patient populations? A lot of questions are coming up from our study, and so it's all thanks to the Campbell Foundation's support that we were able to accomplish this, and a lot of future studies will stem from this pilot study.
In addition to funding cutting-edge HIV research, we allocate a small amount of our funding during our end-of-year grant program. Organizations that serve the HIV community on a daily basis are recipients of these grants. Since 1997, 30 community-based organizations that assist tens of thousands of people with HIV and their families have received an average of about $2,750 each year to deliver treatment, housing, social and medical services, such as health, dental, and optometric care for children with HIV.
AIDS Alabama is the largest provider of HIV-specific housing in the state, and we offer low-income individuals and families living with HIV safe, decent, and affordable housing opportunities across Alabama. But in the not-so-distant past, a natural disaster nearly depleted our resources. April 27, 2011 is a day that Alabamians will never forget. During one of the worst tornado outbreaks in the United States history, an EF5 tornado touched down near Tuscaloosa, Alabama, cutting a path of destruction for nearly 100 miles, destroying thousands of homes and displacing more than 13,000 Alabamians. But thanks to the Campbell Foundation and your swift answer to our needs, AIDS Alabama and our partners were able to provide emergency financial assistance and supportive services to our clients directly affected by this tragedy. The Campbell Foundation has contributed more than $30,000 to AIDS Alabama over the last few years. This incredible generosity has enabled our organization to continue providing case management services, free HIV testing, affordable housing opportunities, and education and community outreach as we continue the struggle against HIV and against homelessness. To our clients, this means they can adhere to their medications, which leads to healthy, independent living.
This past year, the state of Florida had a waiting list for its AIDS drug assistance program, which meant that many clients were literally put on a waiting list before they could access drugs. Well, the Campbell Foundation knew about that and knew that we were having trouble getting clients on medications, and as importantly, when we would get a client on a program where much of their funding, much of their medication was covered, but a portion was not, because they could not afford that portion, they would fall out of care and off medications. So the Campbell Foundation stepped in and gave us a larger year-end grant than they typically have, and they said please use these funds and designate them to take care of those folks who need drug copay assistance and other types of medications assistance so that they don't fall off their medication plan and therefore their treatment regimen. And we did just that with the money, and they really saved the community in a sense in both counties, both Broward and Dade County. They implemented this program, and it was really life-saving for us to be able to offer that financial support to our clients.
The Campbell Foundation has donated funds to us over a number of years now, and they've been very helpful to us in being able to fill in some of the gaps in services that we've had for clients. Every now and then there's a need that comes up that we don't have an identified funding source from, or there might just be a small quirk in eligibility criteria for a service, but we know that the client really needs that service. So we've been able to tap on the Campbell Foundation to help us out with that.
We have been fortunate enough to have been the recipient of end-of-year grants from the Campbell Foundation for over 15 years. We've received a total of $50,000, and with those gifts we've been able to help our HIV clients with emergency assistance, medications, and the opportunity to attend a special HIV camp in the summer. It is through this partnership with the Campbell Foundation that we're able to provide these extra services to a very needy and impoverished population.
Our mission is to expand the Foundation's endowment to fund more research. While our endowment is stable and providing revenue to fund research at the rate of about $300,000 to $450,000 per year, we receive more requests for grant funding than we have the money to support.
Without innovative research studies, I am concerned that we will lose the ability to effectively fight this virus. Speaking for myself, I have become resistant to several of the available antiretrovirals, cannot tolerate a whole class of these antivirals, and I'm constantly concerned that I may lose an effective treatment program if new and innovative treatment options aren't continually studied and made available. I know I am not alone in this struggle. Knowing the Campbell Foundation is available to allow the study of novel therapies and alternative treatment and management options makes me more comfortable living with HIV and AIDS. Knowing there is continued concern to bring new treatments and management modalities to the HIV-infected community is reassuring. If I may speak for all of us living with HIV and AIDS, we thank you for your interest in supporting the Campbell Foundation and express our profound gratitude.
Although we've come a long way during the past 30 years, and we're now able to extend the lives of people living with HIV, we have more to do. The Campbell Foundation would like your help to continue to treat and work toward a cure for HIV.
Thank you, Campbell Foundation.